Incrediplex is Indianapolis' destination spot for sports, entertainment, and events. Whether it is a day of fun with the kids in the arcade, getting a workout in the fitness center, or getting competitive on our basketball courts, Incrediplex is the place to be. Go online to Incrediplex.com today to start planning your visit.
This is America's ultimate sport. Indy is America's ultimate team. Your Indianapolis Alley Cats. Affordable, family, fun. Get to Grand Park for the ultimate game. Be there. Tickets available at myalleycats.com.
My first few years of college, I threw every single day. Of course you want to be a champion. Of course you want to be working towards winning titles.
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
With 4 acres of indoor space, Incrediplex is Indianapolis' destination spot for sports, entertainment, and events. Whether it is a day of fun with the kids in the arcade, getting a workout in the fitness center, or getting competitive on our basketball courts, Incrediplex is the place to be. Go online to Incrediplex.com today to start planning your visit.
This is America's ultimate sport. Indy is America's ultimate team. Your Indianapolis Alley Cats. Affordable, family, fun. Get to Grand Park for the ultimate game. Be there. Tickets available at myalleycats.com.
From one of the most beautiful high school stadiums in Indiana, from Westfield High School, home of the Shamrocks, it is just about time to start the high school Ultimate Championship here between the Center Grove Trojans and the Fishers Baja. I'm John Herrick, joined by Alex Hutton. And Alex, special day in Indiana today. It is the first ever Ultimate Day in Indiana, where we get to celebrate the great sport that is Ultimate Frisbee, and we're live to you on UniversePointProductions.com. Huge thank you first, before we get started, Alex, to the Indiana Ultimate Foundation for helping make Ultimate Day in Indiana possible. What a special day we have here.
Yes, if basketball day in Indiana is any indication on how just exciting a day like that can be, it's my only hope that something like this can just continue to grow.
And we got some history that could be made today. Of course, Center Grove Trojans have won the last 8 state championships in a row here in Ultimate. Fishers Baja trying to make some history, trying to end that streak and try to be somebody other than Center Grove or Martinsville that's won an Ultimate championship.
Yeah, I think a lot of that goes back to the Indiana Ultimate Foundation. You go back, 8-10 years, and it was Martinsville, Center Grove, and maybe a few other schools. There really just wasn't a lot of competition there just on number of teams alone. And so now you fast forward, and I think something like maybe 20 different high schools over the last 3-4 years have competed in this tournament. And I think that a lot of that is due to the starting of the Indiana Ultimate Foundation, which has just put coaches in different schools, and just it has created a lot more competition, a lot more talent, and it's bringing out a lot of those athletes that maybe didn't even know about that sport just a few years ago.
And also a big thank you to John Randall, who is the John Ramble, the president of the Indiana Ultimate Foundation. He and his whole staff are here helping celebrate today, make today possible. Of course, this is just first of many things we're going to see here today, Alex. You got the Indy Red playing, and then later today, the Indianapolis Alley Cats playing as well, capping off a very special Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see, again, kind of like I mentioned with Basketball Day in Indiana, you're going to see the high school level, you're going to see the women's professional level, the men's professional level, just all sorts of different types of ultimate. The rules will be pretty much the same throughout the day in some regards, but a game like this, we're going to play to a score. The game is played to 13 as opposed to just playing 4 quarters and having it timed, although there is a time limit on the game. But with 2 teams as talented as this, I think that maybe depending on the weather, I think we're going to see certainly a lot of points scored here today, at least, no more than 13 generally for one team.
Well, you just led it right into my next point. Last time you and I did a game together, it was indoors. This game's going to be outdoors. I think we're going to have a very nice day here today. I don't think we're supposed to see any rain, maybe possible, until later this evening. Of course, you never know what Mother Nature's going to do, but so far, sunshine. Some clouds out there, but also there is a chance we could see some high winds, which can also make getting the disc a little bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah, what I saw from warm-ups, both teams are ready to go. I think the one thing that could change a little bit is the long game, the huck game from both teams. Maybe there might be a certain team that could separate themselves from the other just based solely on their ability to complete those long passes.
Also, another thing that's different about this than the professional level is that there will be no officials out there today. Everybody's making their own calls, 10-second stall count. So, again, just part of that integrity of the game and the spirit of the game that makes Ultimate so much fun.
Yeah, I think we will see certainly some instances where there are going to be calls made and there will be disagreements, but with a competitive game like this, I think a moment like this, there will be, again, some calls that are made that players will disagree with. I think generally what we're going to see is, people talking it out, and even if it takes maybe a point or two later, some high fives, some, good games, and just, I think, talking it out and a lot of respect between these two teams. As competitive it's going to be, Fishers and Center Grove, certainly 2 of the stronger, more competitive programs in Indiana. Obviously Center Grove with winning 8 straight championship games, and so I think that we will see that player officiated aspect of it come into play quite a bit, and so I know that a lot of these players here, they know the rules. I don't think you're going to really see coaches step in, and that's really something that we want to watch out for is coaches trying to step in. But I think we're going to see a fun, exciting, and competitive game, certainly.
Wind's blowing south to north here to start. Center Grove will pull. Now, Center Grove does have traditionally red and white colors, but they're in the blue jerseys over here to your right on the screen. Fishers on the left with the red and white uniforms. Now, also you can see the field. It is a shorter field for high school, so it's marked off with orange cones a little bit. There's small orange 40 yards wide, so you can see the orange cones there marking the out of bounds line. So that's where the boundaries are for those of you watching at home. But man, what a great day, Alex! A chance for Fishers to make some history, and a chance for Center Grove to keep on making history with all the championships that they have won. And Center Grove pulling first here to begin Ultimate Day in Indiana. And there is the pull done by Cameron Thatcher. And it goes out of bounds. So Fishers will take over with some pretty good field position. Interesting jersey setup there for Fishers. They got their numbers and then kind of a red stripe back across their numbers there as we begin action. And already a deep pass that's incomplete. The ball will go back. The disc, will go back to Center Grove. So you kind of get a good promising start. The pull goes out of bounds, and then you give it right back.
Well, Fisher's trying to get on the board quick there, and as I mentioned, it'll be interesting to see if one team can maybe separate themselves using that. So it looks like what you're going to see here is Fisher setting up in a zone, essentially just trying to force Center Grove to make a lot of passes and eventually make a mistake. Because sometimes you just get antsy with the disc. You really want to throw a score or you want to make a big play, and so you do something naturally maybe you wouldn't. And so that's one of the biggest things you try to force in a zone is really just make them complete a lot more passes than they would normally have to, and also put them in a situation where they have to make a risky throw, and then the wind will affect it, and Fishers looks to hopefully get the disc back.
Mitchell Anderson had it for Center Grove, gave it to Jesse Rumsey. Again, Fishers with some good defense there.
Yeah, and as you can see here, Center Grove has already completed every pass either in the end zone or maybe only 5 yards out of the end zone. They've yet to get really 5 yards past the end zone yet and already completed several passes.
And you can tell that the defense by Fishers just really tough to get around right now. Mitch Anderson's got it again. He's back up near his own end zone.
Yeah, and I wonder if Center Grove will figure it out here, because the Fishers defenders have not really had to move a whole lot. And, of course, that's what you want to see. The teams will say that a lot. That's the throw that you want in the zone. You want that made, because as you can see here now, Fishers is already on the end zone line. They're going to have to bring the disc back a few yards out of the end zone, but already in prime position to get the first point on the board.
And, again, you saw the wind sort of push the disc back a little bit further. Let's see if Fishers can capitalize on this. Trevor McCoy's got it. And unable to do so. And the stall count ran too high there. So now Center Grove gets it back. So far we're seeing defense win the day so far.
And that's something that you really need if you're Center Grove on a turnover like that, is if you can get 3-4 throws off before Fishers can set the defense. As you can see here, the difference is now they're already around midfield.
Anderson to Rumsey, now diving to go down and get it. There was Cameron Thatcher. And as you can hear from our mics out there, the wind's starting to pick up a little bit. So Center Grove keeping the throws here pretty simple, and Thatcher ends up throwing it out of bounds. So Fishers will get the disc back. So, boy, that was a really good defensive possession there once again for Fishers. Ryan Clace was the one that had the hand block there. And Fishers moving it well. Ryan Clace. Now Jacob Beaver with it. And the throw there goes out of bounds. So once again, one of the tougher things about this level of Ultimate is that, the boundaries are a little bit closer. So it's a little bit more difficult to keep the disc in bounds, as you're finding out.
Yeah, and I wonder, they're used to, both these teams are used to playing on a field this size, but when it seems like maybe there's more space than it might appear, I wonder if that's affecting maybe their court vision, so to speak.
And Fishers comes up with another defensive stop. That looked like that was Michael Brunt who made that. So now Fishers once again in prime field position. See how they handle it. And the score right there as Michael Brunt catches that to put Fishers on the board, which I think is fitting, Alex, because he was the one that I think blocked the disc down, giving the ball back to Fishers, giving the disc rather back to Fishers, and then they get in the end zone.
What we like to call it bookends in Ultimate, where get the D and the score.
Look at that. And then, of course, the nice little celebratory toss of the disc after he makes it. Eric Hoy was the one who made the throw, so he'll get the assist. And that gives Fishers the early 1-0 lead. So once we get to 7, by the way, it'll be halftime. And then we play to 13. As they try to figure out here who's going to pull for Fishers. And also another thing to note there, Alex, Fishers was working with the wind, so now they're going to be pulling and they'll be working against the wind.
Yeah, I mean, you saw how Center Grove was transitioning into a man defense, and maybe that's because, sometimes when you set a zone and the other team's working the wind, it's easier to make those throws over the top and break the zone a lot faster.
I've got to wonder, Alex, here, what do coaches typically talk about before? I mean, we see both coaches talking before the pull happens. What do they typically go over there?
A lot of times just settling them down, reminding them of just the basics, throws, catches, things like that. A lot of times, if there's maybe something specific they noticed in that point where a cut could have been made and wasn't, they'll point that out. But generally it's just a matter of reminding them, hey, we're with the wind, we can do this. We're not against the wind, we can do this. Just, going back to the basics a lot of times.
Noah Wall was the one who picked it up. Now Jalen Bennett with it. Hands off to Jesse Rumsey. Rumsey gets rid of it to Bennett again. And Fisher's still in a zone defense. And then Jesse Rumsey had it. There's a deep throw, and that will send the disc back to Fishers. So we saw deep throw by Fishers earlier that didn't quite pan out, and now Center Grove tries to go for the, I guess you could call it a home run, so to speak. They were really going with a deep one. Now man-to-man defense for Center Grove here. Another deep one, and that is a turnover.
Yeah, going into the wind like that, it's just going to die down real quick.
And Fishers comes up with a nice defensive stop there. The man who knocked it down was Andrew Sin, so nice job by him. Now Fishers trying to add to their lead and somehow able to hang on to that. What a heck of a play there by, it looked like Camden Green. Looked like it was going to fall right in the hands of Center Grove, but Fishers gets the bounce, trying to take advantage, and not able to. Really good play there on defense by Cameron Thatcher. And now Mitchell Anderson with it for the Trojans. Did you kind of expect, Alex, that both teams would have a little bit of trouble moving the disc, or did you think both teams' defenses would kind of make a statement here early?
Well, I kind of wondered how much just kind of having a moment like this, with it being different, first time we've ever moved the high school state championship game to a different weekend. It's just one game. It's a showcase game, and obviously with the elements here today, it was going to maybe play a little bit of a role, but I'm sure that both teams are settled in here fairly quickly, and I'll be interested to see just some of the decisions that are made as the game goes on.
Anderson with it, going for the score. Someone's going to make a play on it, and it's batted down. So, boy, it's just uh-oh. Not something you want to. Looks like there was a foul called there. And for Fishers, it is Lance Marshall standing over the player down. He's back up. Can't quite tell who it is. Again, the one thing that makes it hard is Fishers has those stripes across the numbers on the back. But they have the early 1-0 lead.
I think what we saw there is that a foul was called on Fishers. Center Grove player thought it was not a foul, so the disc gets sent back.
To where it was.
Otherwise, the Fishers player would have been able to take the disc out of the end zone, or if he makes the catch, it counts as a score, or if it knocked it out of his hand, I mean.
And I think that is caught for a score by Fishers. Nicely done. Gavin Henderson on the receiving end of it. And that was very close to possibly being out of bounds, but he was able to get in before, as you can see there. Nicely done by there, and a couple of his teammates saw it happen.
It's fairly more impressive to be able to do that, since normally the end zone you see there, it's now 10 yards out of the end zone that's on the football field, and so to be able to kind of recognize that he's right there in front of the end zone and toe that in is a nice play there.
Gavin Henderson with his first goal here in the state championship ultimate game for the Fishers Baja. Again, special thanks to the Indiana Ultimate Foundation for helping Ultimate Day in Indiana possible. Make that possible. It's been a great, I think we're going to have a great day here today.
And as you mentioned before, with there being some discussion and just being a little bit different from professional ultimate, is there'll be a little bit more time here between points. Just a lot of discussion being had, making sure the matchups are all in place, or if they're running a zone, everyone's in the correct position. And so there'll be a little bit more time here in between pulls, and that's something just to kind of keep in mind as the game is going here today.
What did you? Well, how about that foul call there? That ends up being pretty big.
Well, a lot of times there's even though it's technically a non-contact sport, there's going to be some contact on those, and it just comes down to, do you think that you were going to make the catch and someone got in your way? And sometimes it's hard to even think about it because you're so focused on catching it. Is you sometimes have to go back and think, what really happened? Did I really get fouled? And a lot of times players just aren't thinking through that, and I'm not saying necessarily that's what happened there, but it's just quick instinct a lot of times is to make a foul call, and but at the same time, if you don't agree, just quickly send it back, and that's it.
All right, the disc fell down there, and picking it up, Andrew Sin, trying to see if Fishers can capitalize on that.
So there's a little bit of a cluster there, and I think there was probably a discussion on was one of the Center Grove players interfering with one of the Fishers players, and just if there should be a pick call or not. And so from what we can see here, I just think certainly Center Grove maybe thought maybe they weren't in position, maybe they weren't ready, I don't know, but there was a discussion that was had, and ultimately you talk it through, and the decision was that there wasn't really any sort of interference, so to speak, or a pick call that is made often in ultimate, and it results in a Fisher's goal.
And that was from Andrew Sin. So it was interesting. I mean, he was already across in the end zone when that happened. So I think that's why everybody was I was sort of confused as to what had happened. But Fisher's already up 3-0 here. And Alex, if it's it's not just been their offense, but I think their defense, as you can tell right there. Center Grove kind of relaxed, but it was, again, set up by that great turnover on the deflection before that. So if you're Center Grove now, Alex, and of course you're going to spend more time here before the pull, and you're the coaching staff, what are you telling the players right now?
Well, I was at the games last weekend, helping direct the high school state championship tournament, and Center Grove was in this position a couple times, and they were able to just use their athleticism and just their knowledge of the game to get back in it. And I think Fishers has just been able to get some turnovers by the end zone, which has resulted in some quick scores. I think maybe two, if not all of their scores have been turnovers from Center Grove near the end zone, and Fishers has been able to capitalize.
Trevor McCoy with the pull there from Fishers, and Center Grove trying to get something going here. Just keep getting Push back in their own zone. Jalen Bennett tries to flick it back, and it falls down. He tried to get it to Cole Fuss, and now Fisher's trying to make another score. Throw. Well, he's near the end zone, but not quite there, so play continues. Andrew Sin. Nice layout there for Fishers to get the ball, to get the disc closer. And there's another score for the Baja. Making it this time, I think that was Isaac Mers who got it. Again, very, very close again. And I think that was Trevor McCoy who started everything with the pull, getting the assist there. Eric Hoy rather. Okay. So Hoy with the assist, Mers with the goal, and now Fishers leads it 4-0. And Center Grove needs to talk it over with a timeout. And Alex, when you played Ultimate, and let's say you were in Center Grove's position or your offense was struggling like Center Grove's is, what did you guys typically say in the timeout to one another or address?
Well, the first thing is, offense has to take care of its responsibilities, but at this point it becomes an extremely important defensive game for Center Grove, as in they have to get turnovers in order to come back, because being down 4, Fishers is going to be able to get the disc back anytime Center Grove scores, and so it just becomes that much more important for Center Grove to focus right now, I think, just on their throws. As I mentioned, I think, again, 3 or 4 of Fisher's scores have been a result of Center Grove turning over the disc within 10 yards of the end zone, and Fishers has had to make maybe 1 or 2 throws. And they haven't always been the best throws, but one person gets open, and then all of a sudden Fishers is on the board again. And I think that's been the biggest difference here. You might see Center Grove run the same line, maybe a few points here, just to try to get some momentum established. Maybe early on sometimes you're trying to mix other players in, but then you get set on like a top 7 line that you're just trying to get out there, your best 7 athletes offensively, defensively, just to try to get a few scores in a row. And as long as, maybe they can chip away at this, Center Grove, and get to within maybe 2 by halftime, put themselves in a good position to complete the comeback.
That's 2 completed breaks for Fishers. You're watching live on UniversePointProductions.com. Ultimate Day in Indiana. Big thanks to the Indiana Ultimate Foundation for doing that. John Rempel, the president of IUF, playing a big part in that, so big thanks to him. And Fishers in a great position here. Again, once we reach whoever scores 7 first, that'll be when we get to halftime, and the winner, we'll know who the winner is by whoever gets to 13 first. And also today is a big day too, Alex, about, these are probably players that we might see one day on the Indianapolis Alley Cats or playing in somewhere else in the sport of Ultimate.
Yeah, certainly several of the current Alley Cat players went to Center Grove, but Fishers has, just within the last, I want to say 3, 4, maybe 5 years, has built a program that has been at this level here, in the top few in the championship game.
There's another score for Fishers. And that is a Callahan, and you hardly ever see that. You hardly ever see a Callahan, Alex, but right there is one.
Yeah.
Basically, taking the disc away in your own team in the end zone back where the team was, and that's just an incredible play right there. And again, I think the wind might have made that disc hang in the air, and that's what made that happen. Ryan Clace with his second goal, by the way. But that is a second score, by the way. But that is just incredible to see that. I think when he flicked it, I think he thought it was going to go further, and I think the wind just made it hang in the air. and Clace was able to get underneath it.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of stopped in the middle of the point I was making earlier just because I was watching kind of the play happening, and I was trying not to just sort of react as I saw what was, I thought maybe a potential Callahan. It's just a huge play because you get a turnover and a score just in the same action.
Yes,
and
yeah.
all of a sudden, especially here in this instance where Fishers has been dominating the game so far, all of a sudden is now up 5-0 just on one quick play. You don't have to make any throws. You just get a D and a score all in one. And certainly the higher you go up, the rarer it is. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just sometimes it can be that slight lack of focus on a throw that can result in a play like that.
And you could tell, by the way, I mean, everybody's going to celebrate on a score. Everybody's going to enjoy that when that happens. But when you see it, when you can get a Callahan, I mean, everybody in the whole place knows how big of a deal that is. And, of course, you saw the rest of the Fishers players coming out to greet Ryan Clace when he makes a great play on the disc like that. So Fishers yet again will pull. But now this is where, if you're Center Grove, you really got to take advantage. You got the wind to your back now. You're down 5-0. You've won 8 of these state titles in a row. Now you've got to really come up with some sort of a response here. And McCoy with the pull yet again. And here comes Center Grove. And they can still look like they're trying to talk about something here. And Michael Brunt, Jalen Bennett with it for Center Grove. Now Mitchell Anderson has it. And again, you can tell with Fishers and that aggressive style of defense, forcing Center Grove to backtrack a little bit.
And I don't know if we've seen Center Grove run a zone yet today. It's been an interesting decision where Fishers is running a zone and Center Grove is not.
And again, another deep pass taken away by Fishers.
Yeah, just I think that's Eric Hoy there in perfect position, ready for it. And Fishers is quickly moving the disc up the field, except, quick turnover there. Let's see if this is the moment here where Center Grove can finally capitalize.
Noah Wall was the one who picked up the disc following the turnover.
Because you see there, it seemed like Fishers was trying to figure out if they were in a zone or not, so it left some free space for the Trojans.
And it looked like we might have a Center Grove player down, but he gets right back up. That is Noah Wall. Good to see he's okay. But, yeah, right when Center Grove was able to force a turnover, they give it right back, and now Fishers takes over.
Timeout for Fishers.
I think, okay, yes. I was going to say, it looked like one of these teams was calling a timeout, and it is Fishers. So
and that's another difference, is that the players on the field have to call the timeout, and it's really only the player with the disc. You can't just yell timeout somewhere and all of a sudden it's a timeout. The player with the disc has to call the timeout, and you'll see they kind of make a T with the disc. And also another difference between a broadcast that we've done before is there are no substitutions here.
All right, we'll take a brief timeout and come right back with more between Fishers and Center Grove. You are watching UniversePointProductions.com.
4 acres of indoor space, Incrediplex is Indianapolis' destination spot for sports, entertainment, and events. Whether it is a day of fun with the kids in the arcade, getting a workout in the fitness center, or getting competitive on our basketball courts, Incrediplex is the place to be. Go online to Incrediplex.com today to start planning your visit.
It is the Indiana High School Ultimate State Championship, the Fishers Baja and the Center Grove Trojans on UniversePointProductions.com. I'm John Herrick with Alex Hutton, and boy, this first half couldn't have gone much better for Fishers right now. Ken and Alex, they get a Callahan. They're playing great defense, and their offense is flowing well.
You know, the first couple points, it was just, I think, simply the mistakes of Center Grove. But here in the last few, Fishers, I think, has just been the better team on just about every level.
And they go for a deep pass here, and almost works out on the deflection, but Center Grove will get it back. There's been an awful lot of turnovers as a result of really pretty good defense by both teams, but especially Fishers. I mean, Fishers, as you can tell, been swarming Center Grove anytime they've had a player with the disc, like Noah Wall. Carter Franklin with it. By the way, interesting story about both Carter and Eli Franklin. They are brothers, and Eli was just moved up to competitive, and before today is out, Carter and Eli will play 1 point together just to make sure that they get on the field in a state championship game. So that's as Center Grove commits a turnover there and gives it back to Fishers. But that's always cool. You know, again, when you can play a great sport like Ultimate, keep it in the family, and it's a really neat thing that Center Grove will get to see happen today as Fishers tries to add to their lead. There's the throw, and caught for the score. Making the catch that time is Michael Brunt, I believe. Again, are they now? Oh, I think they might be. We might be seeing a call overturn this.
I think that the player there for Center Grove was calling that his hand that he was trying to knock the disc down with was inadvertently held down by a Fishers player and called a foul, so he couldn't, and that's what resulted in Fishers being able to catch it in the end zone, and so that's why you see the foul call there.
All right, well, Fishers will try it again, and it's knocked away out of bounds, so Center Grove comes up with the defensive stop.
And again, that's an instance where, if you're Fishers, you really want the score, but it looked like a foul, looked like a good call to me.
And
wow, excellent job there.
Great response by Center Grove, and catching it for the score, Jalen Bennett. And Center Grove has called a timeout. And this is their last timeout, by the way, of the half. But at least the big thing here is, Alex, they get on the board, something they desperately needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, just excellent field vision there. It didn't quite result in a score, and I always, I think I've mentioned this before, is I always hate those hucks that I have, and you throw them and it lands, it's caught 1 or 2 yards just out of the end zone. It's almost like that happens all the time when those things happen. Is you start to think that way, but Center Grove is able to very quickly off the turnover. Just again, good field vision, gets it down there quickly, and probably a good timeout call. It takes a while for the teammates to get up the field, and so that way the stall count doesn't run out, and now you can set a play and try to get on the scoreboard.
That's the good news, to set something up, but the bad news is now that's your last timeout of the half. So it wasn't quite a score. Jalen Bennett just caught it outside the end zone. So really, we saw this. I think we saw this a couple weeks ago with the Alley Cats. They had a lot of plays where somebody would catch it right near the end zone, and then they'd have to just come with a little bit of a short pass to get it across for the score. And that's basically what Center Grove is going to have to do right now. Whatever happens, you can't turn it over now. You're so close. You're already down 5-0, and Fishers has proven to be a very capable defensive team.
Yes. And again, you try to save those timeouts, especially if you have teammates around you and you can get the score quickly after making a catch like that. But I think as the number 10 for Center Grove there was walking it back in, noticed that none of his teammates were around him and then made the timeout call.
Jalen Bennett throws it and cannot get it across. Boy, it was the right idea.
Yeah, it looked like that was the go-to play there. The strike cut just immediately right up the field from the other handler. And just a little bit of a hesitation, I think, on the cut resulted in the turnover.
He tried to get it to Noah Wall, and it just did not work. So now Fishers looks to take advantage, and that is batted down.
Definitely a lot of passion and intensity out
yeah.
there from both teams. Whenever plays are made, you can see it. You see that a lot, but I think just the magnitude of the game and just, again, with it being Ultimate Day in Indiana, you see the passion and intensity here from the players.
And I think this time it is a score for Center Grove. But you can tell that passion's going to come right back out again. They get on the board, making it 5-1. The Fishers Baja leading the Center Grove Trojans. That is Jesse Rumsey, who was the one who got it across for the score. And first, here's a look at the last hand block for Center Grove, which set up the score.
Yeah, you saw that.
Yep.
If the defenders there don't switch, he's probably not in the position to make that defensive play.
Noah Wall was the one who got the hand block, and then as you see there, he gave the disc to Cameron Thatcher. So Thatcher gets the assist, and Rumsey gets the goal. So Fishers leading now by 4, 5-1. It's a little bit of an interesting swing here, Alex. Fishers comes close to scoring, possibly going up 6-0, and now instead of that, it's 5-1.
And I fully expected Center Grove to just react that way, being down 5-0, not just throw it in and say, well, the game's already over. Come back, get a score, and just show as much, again, fire as if it was 5-5. They know they're down 4, but at the same time, there's no quit in this team, certainly.
No. And again, this is a Center Grove program that has won 8 of these in a row, and that doesn't happen by accident.
I'd be interested to know if any of them were being down by 5 points. Just knowing the just sort of overall competition, just the number of competitive teams that have been at the tournament, I doubt it. And Center Grove has certainly had some stacked rosters over the years. Again, just looking at the number of players from Center Grove on the Alley-Cats even. But I again also think that this team is certainly capable of this comeback.
Andrew Sins got it for Fishers. By the way, the pull was done by Center Grove's Cameron Thatcher. Fishers advancing, though, well up the field. Ryan Clace has it. He was the one that caught the Callahan earlier, but Fishers unable to take advantage, and the turnover gives the disc back to Center Grove.
It's going to come down to basics. If Fishers, has those drops like that, it is, again, certainly going to give Center Grove the possessions that they desperately need right now.
The stall count seems to be sort of high for both teams. I don't know if that's been just offense failing to get into a rhythm, or maybe defense, or just trying to make sure you get when you throw the disc, you don't get it taken away from you by the wind, or a lot of different factors can come into that. I just noticed that the stall count's been going really high for both teams, especially for Center Grove.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of watching also, just kind of staring downfield and not really looking for the quick reset throw, and that's another factor I think in that.
And another turnover by Center Grove. So Fisher's very close, and they get it in for the score. That time the assist was to Michael Brunt.
Okay, maybe there was some confusion there where no one from Center Grove went to guard the receiver, and it ended up in a Fisher score.
And Jacob Beaver was the one who scored for Fisher. So let's take a look at how.
Again, you see here, he's pointing and saying, who's got him? And, of course, well, no one's got him.
Yeah, he was pretty open there. So 5 different players for Fishers have scored, and they lead by 5 now, 6-1. So they can put this at half if they get one more score here to put us at 7.
And another thing is certainly different about this that you never really get the opportunity of in Ultimate is a week of preparation. That's another thing to really bring up is you're used to just in a tournament, you play a game, maybe you get 10 minutes off, play another game, and then you do that, you play 8 or 9 games. You got that Fitbit tracker up to about 100,000 steps in the day. I'm sure I'd be interested to kind of see truthfully how many steps that is you get in a day. But really my point is that this is different. These two teams have had a week to get ready for this, and I wonder how much really recruiting kind of even went into it. I was there again directing the tournament last weekend, and I even kind of saw some of these coaches going and watching other teams knowing that they had a week to get ready for this game.
When you say there was some recruiting going on, what do you mean by
that?
Just
Coaches just watching games, just watching maybe what players are touching the disc more. Does a team run a zone or man more? Just trying to get some notes about really just maybe again their offensive and defensive strategies.
Deep throw by Mitchell Anderson, and it does result in a score this time. Center Grove had gone with some deep throws many times, and they hadn't worked out, but Mitchell Anderson goes for it all and finds his teammate Tommy Novotny in the end zone there. So that makes it 6-2 Fishers. But again, Center Grove's not going to stay quiet forever. Let's see. Look at this. My word, look at that throw, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, there was some zip to that one. In a zone, those are sometimes the throws you want because you see the Fishers defender there, but I'm not making that throw a lot of times if I'm in that situation, but hats off to Center Grove for getting that to work.
So Mitchell Anderson with the assist there, and Tommy Novotny has scored along with Jesse Rumsey for Center Grove. The other assist to Cameron Thatcher. Guys who have scored for Fishers: Gavin Henderson, Jacob Beaver, Michael Brunt, Ryan Clace has scored twice, and of course that one of those was the Callahan, which was probably the highlight of the first half, and then Isaac Mers was the other Fishers Baja to get in the end zone. And the pull by Cameron Thatcher. Trevor McCoy picked it up for Fishers and immediately goes for it all, and it's deflected. 4 different Trojans back there. I think the one who made the deflection was Jesse Rumsey. Now you start to wonder, Center Grove's been in these situations a little bit from time to time, but now you wonder if they're gaining some confidence here, Alex.
This is something that Fishers only being 1 point away from half, I think certainly could use the score here just to kind of try to kill the momentum for Center Grove. But at the same time, as I mentioned, Center Grove can try to get this to maybe a 2, maybe 3 point game before halftime. Puts them in a position that you can feel fairly comfortable in being able to complete the comeback.
Mitchell Anderson was the one who made a nice layout there to keep the possession alive for the Trojans. But they've been backtracking here lately.
Well, even then, I think you still see a little bit more movement from Center Grove, trying to move the disc quicker and definitely allowing them to get into position to move up the field. But then you see, again, a throw like that where kind of risky up the field and
Trevor
results
McCoy,
in Fishers getting it back.
Trevor McCoy with a nice block there. Andrew Sin now will initiate the offense, and he heaves this one downfield, and another Fishers score. That'll put us in halftime.
Yeah, definitely looked out of bounds. It looks like he was in the end zone if it was a football game.
Yeah,
but
not quite. Okay,
not quite if this is an ultimate game.
That's what they're talking about right now, and I think that's what they're going to probably end up deciding.
At least you certainly hope. You can clearly tell from here that was out of bounds. And, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So, yeah, here's the replay of it. Yeah, that was
definitely looked like maybe a little closer than I thought, but I think that's definitely a good call that was not in the end zone for the field that we are playing on here for this game. Yes.
Again, just as I mentioned before the game started, it's all about where the orange cones are. That's where you can't go beyond those.
Yeah, the front of the football end zone, as you can see there, is the back of the end zone to our right here on the broadcast.
Yeah, so that's, you can't catch it beyond those, or else you're out of bounds. And I think he was just barely out of bounds there. And as you saw both teams talk about it.
Yeah, and that's an instance where sometimes coaches can try to, provide some. I guess you don't want to say influence. It's a player's decision. The players need to be making the decision, but I think that ultimately the influence from everyone there was that it was out of bounds and the right call was made.
By the way, the interceptor there for Fishers was Trevor McCoy. So now Fishers tries to take advantage, and the catch is made, but was he in bounds? Very close. Fishers players seem to thought he was, but now I think they're talking it over. The man who caught it was Ryan Clace, but now he's having a discussion with some Center Grove players about.
It looks like I think they're just going to replay
it. Yep.
Because there's not an agreement on it. I don't know. I thought first maybe he was out, but looking at it's not. I'm not sure. And sometimes if you're the person receiving it and you can't really look down and no one's really around to make the call and you can't agree, that's why you send it back.
And that throw goes out of bounds. They try to go back to Clace there, and it doesn't work. But
again, sometimes when it is self-officiated like this, sometimes it can just be it can be interesting on, do I make the call or not?
Yeah.
And ultimately, when we go back to spirit of the game, if you're not sure
you just go
and
back
no one can decide again, you just go back.
To where
and that's why you saw that there, yes.
Which is what they did.
Almost another Callahan
there was almost another Callahan. Instead, it's just a turnover by Center Grove, and then it goes back to them. They score to end the first half. And so that was, and again, just another mistake by the Trojans there in their own zone leads to Fishers scoring. And now that takes us to the half where Fishers leads Center Grove 7-2. Let's see this again
on just
replay.
Maybe one more step would have had it.
Yeah. And that was Michael Brunt getting the steal, and then he ended up throwing it into the end zone. So Fishers 7, Center Grove 2, and we will step aside. When we come back, we'll give you some first half stats and get ready for half number 2 of the high school state ultimate championship game between the Fishers Baja and the Center Grove Trojans. You are watching on UniversePointProductions.com on Ultimate Day in Indiana.
First few years of college, I threw every single day. Of course you want to be a champion. Of course you want to be working towards winning titles.
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
With 4 acres of indoor space, Incrediplex is Indianapolis' destination spot for sports, entertainment, and events. Whether it is a day of fun with the kids in the arcade, getting a workout in the fitness center, or getting competitive on our basketball courts, Incrediplex is the place to be. Go online to Incrediplex.com today to start planning your visit.
ultimate sport. Indy is America's ultimate team. Your Indianapolis Alley Cats. Affordable, family, fun. Get to Grand Park for the ultimate game. Be there. Tickets available at myalleycats.com.
My first few years of college, I threw every single day. Of course you want to be a champion. Of course you want to be working towards winning titles.
Be happy, but never satisfied.
Better than ever.
With 4 acres of indoor space, Incrediplex is Indianapolis' destination spot for sports, entertainment, and events. Whether it is a day of fun with the kids in the arcade, getting a workout in the fitness center, or getting competitive on our basketball courts, Incrediplex is the place to be. Go online to incrediplex.com today to start planning your visit.
This is America's ultimate sport. Indy is America's ultimate team. Your Indianapolis Alley Cats. Affordable, family, fun. Get to Grand Park for the ultimate game. Be there. Tickets available at myalleycats.com.
It is the high school ultimate championship game here at Westfield High School, home of the Shamrocks, on universepointproductions.com. I'm John Herrick, Thank you for joining us, along with Alex Hutton. And Alex, this was the first half. Really, when you look back at it, I think Fishers really set the tone, especially with the defense they played. They had a lot of knockdowns, had a lot of blocks, forced some Center Grove turnovers, and really took advantage of that. Center Grove did make a little bit of a run there at the end of the first half, but I think, a lot of it now with Center Grove being kind of the overall favorite. They've won 8 of these things in a row, and Fishers has never won one. But I think now, Fishers, you get off to a good start like that, and I think now they've got the power of belief on their side. They think they can, probably pull this off, and they closed the first half well.
Yeah, you saw there definitely as the first few points went on, Fishers just settled in a lot more quickly than Center Grove did, and certainly it led to their 5-point lead. Fishers is just executing better, playing, making smarter decisions. The throws are just a little bit crisper out here, and both of these teams certainly very talented, very competitive, but it's a one-game shot. You get one shot here to win the championship, and ultimately, we will see who comes out on top. But again, right now, Fishers just, if you check off the boxes on just offense, defense, throwing, catching, defense, decision making, really everything, Fishers has most of those boxes checked over Center Grove, and that's ultimately the difference here.
Well, let's take a look at some of those first half highlights that we saw here. This was the first score for Fishers, and
you see, they're just nice throw.
Yeah,
The cut could have the defender had a chance to D it there because you saw the offensive player just kind of stop and wait for it, which we say in ultimate run through the disc, and maybe just had 1 yard enough of a lead of open space just to be able to make the catch there.
And this will be this is the second score here where he did a really good job of towing the line here for Fishers. By the way, all the guys that scored for the Fishers Baja in that first half, you had Gavin Henderson, Jacob Beaver, Michael Brunt, Ryan Clace, of course, had 2 of them, and Isaac Merce had one. There was one of the ones by Ryan Clace. Clace, of course, made not only did he had a chance to help Fishers win their first ever championship if they can do that, but he also had a Callahan, which is incredibly rare in the sport of ultimate, which I'm sure we'll see here in just a moment. But that's going to be the next highlight we see, as you see another score there from Fishers. But one thing that I'm looking, and this is what made it 5-0. Here was the Callahan right there that Clace was the one that grabbed in the end zone, and that just really, I think when something like that, you see this happen in a lot of sports, Alex, like momentum-changing plays where the benches go nuts, the teammates go crazy. The teammates go crazy. They start to feel the momentum shift, and when you get something as great like a Callahan that's so rare to happen in favor of you, that's just the one. That's something that can really fire the rest of the team up, and you saw that happen and ignite Fishers for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking the exact same thing there in terms of kind of the moment where 5-0, get a Callahan, and all of the momentum is yours.
And then you got Mitchell Anderson there with the assist for Center Grove as he found Tommy Novotny in the end zone. That was Center Grove's first score. The other one, and this is another score here from Fishers that we had in the first half. And just, I think you talked about there on that play, Alex, it just seemed like a little bit of a defensive breakdown from Center Grove there. Guy just wide open.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where right now, maybe certainly not expected, but Center Grove again just making a few more of those critical errors that has led to a big lead here for Fishers.
Well, team's warming up right now. Here was the second score from Center Grove, and that was the one to Tommy Novotny. Rather, the other one was to Rumsey. So Novotny was the one that caught the long pass from Anderson, and right when you thought, okay, maybe this will be a momentum changer, then you had this happen right there at the end of the half, and just such a. That's just such a back-breaking play there. If you're Center Grove, I mean, right when you start to get things going, then it's really, ultimate's a hard sport to win in when you turn it over, period. But when you turn it over deep in your own zone like that, that makes it even more difficult.
And again, you saw it there just towards the end of the half. I'd be interested to see, of the 7 scores Fishers had, how many of them started only 10 yards within their own end zone. They had the Callahan. The first few points, we had been discussing that. And then there again towards the end of half, almost another Callahan. I'd be interested to – I'd go out on a limb and say that no high school state championship game here, at least in the state of Indiana, for Ultimate has had we'll call it 1.5 Callahans. I don't know. If that would have been a second, that definitely could have been a first. I would have gone out on a limb and said that.
1.5 Callahans. It is Ultimate Day in Indiana. Big thanks to the Indiana Ultimate Foundation for helping make all of this possible. John Rimple, the president, Brittany Brand, the vice president, who you, by the way, probably saw on our pre-day, I guess you could say our pre-Ultimate Day in Indiana feature, which was on the Indiana Ultimate Foundation Facebook page. Brittany was on that along with a couple of Indianapolis Alley Cats and Indy Red players. And just a really, really fun special day here in the state of Indiana for Ultimate Day. So Center Grove will start with the disc here. Noah Wall has it. And right away you're seeing, again, that Fishers defense, which has really been doing a good job of putting on the pressure.
I'm gonna go predict that we're gonna see a little bit more crisp, smooth of a half from both teams, just making I'm especially on the offensive side, just kind of settling in here. But of course, as we know, records are made to be broken and predictions are made to be wrong, right?
That happens all the time. Happens all the time. Anderson to Jalen Bennett. And back to Anderson again. Anderson I sort of feel bad for him. And yeah, he did have that one assist, but feels like every time he gets the disc, there's 3 Fishers players waiting on him.
And Center Grove most of the day just hasn't been able to break up the middle of that zone. Generally, once you can get 1 or 2 throws, especially through the middle of the field in a zone, you can gain several yards. And a lot of what Center Grove has been doing has been back a few yards across the field, maybe up a few yards back, and then just kind of repeating that over and over again, as you see here, swinging it backwards and then again trying to gain yards, but ultimately just ended up in about the same position, just on the opposite side of the field. And just I think it's causing some impatience from them throughout the day here.
And they just keep kind of going with that same level of passing. It's almost like it's circular, coming back into the same place. Mitchell Anderson with it again. One thing to notice here, Alex, the poppers and cutters for Center Grove really, really deep. You can tell they're trying to go for maybe another deep pass, but Fishers seems to be ready for it.
Yeah, and it's more of almost a U shape with their offensive players, and there's not as much, again, action up the field. And again, it's going to cause some impatient, unwise decisions here as you finally kind of see, okay, making some throws up the middle there. But, of course, over the last couple minutes of play, haven't gained ultimately too many yards. And then, another throw that you see there just out of the end zone.
Novotny, well, he's not in yet. Novotny flicked it back to Anderson, but he's got to throw it to someone else to get it across. And can't do it. Boy, and again, credit the Fishers defense there near the end, forcing him to make Novotny, that is, to make a very, very tough throw. So Fishers yet again comes up with another defensive stop, and they get the disc back.
The Fishers zone has just been fairly effective today. As we mentioned, sometimes that was due to the Center Grove Cutters just not being in the right position at the right time, but again, nonetheless, the Fisher zone has been effective ultimately most of the day today.
By the way, I think you mentioned this in the pregame. There is a time limit, and the timer on the clock down there is under 33 minutes. And I think Fishers is noticing that they're taking as long as they possibly want to here. But again, 2 more great games coming your way today, featuring the Indy Red and the Indianapolis Alley Cats. Fishers trying to add another score here, and Center Grove make sure that doesn't happen.
As you mentioned with the time limit, what's going to happen is we have 32 minutes left here, 32 and a half minutes. If that time runs out and Fishers maintains this lead, the game would ultimately be over. The only way it would continue is if somehow you end the point and the game is tied. We would go to what's called sudden death or universe point, a.k.a. kind of leading to Universe Point Productions, as you can see there, tying in the terminology a little bit. But again, as I mentioned just right now, again, the clock certainly favors Fishers being up 5 with that first half now really taking well over half of the game off the clock.
And again, with Center Grove's offense running the stall count high, that's not something that Fishers is going to complain too much about.
And there you see up the middle, but just the throw wasn't in the right spot. That was the cut you need. There was a lot of space there to make that throw, but just ultimately the Trojans were not able to execute.
And Trevor McCoy was the one who stepped in front to get it. Now Fishers tries to keep it going, but I think he ended up out of bounds. He did. Good effort by Trevor McCoy, but he just could not come down in. So
I think there's some discussion here. It almost looks like one Center Grove player wants to call it in and one wants to call it out.
And again, the big thing to remember here is that this sport does have an integrity of the game rule to it, which is where if you feel like And there you see it right there. So the spirit of the game, as you can tell, I think the Fishers player realized McCoy did that he was out. So he felt like, okay, it's definitely Center Grove's disc then because I landed out, and that's why you saw the handshake after that, because I think the correct call was made. Again, just one of the neatest things about this sport. And as the disc is knocked down again. So
well, and again, it's these are high schoolers,
yes,
and the coaches are not influencing the call. The high schoolers are talking about it and making the right call. This isn't professional. This is a high school game, and you see there the high school players able to talk it out, and that I think makes it even better.
So Lance Marshall just caught that deep pass, putting Fishers closer to the end zone, and like we saw Center Grove do in the first half, Alex, Fishers is going to call a timeout here, let the offense come down, let it get set up, and try to drop a play to get it in the end zone.
Right.
See, I'm figuring this
you
sport
got
out.
it, yeah.
I'm getting the hang of it.
He looks around even for a few seconds, which is really what you want to do. You don't want to call timeout immediately, because if you see one of your teammates breaking up the field wide open, you get the score. So he lets it. He kind of takes 2-3 seconds, looks around, nothing's happening, and then immediately calls timeout at that point. And so, as you mentioned, now bring all the offensive players up and get kind of an end zone type play set up here. So Fishers can, they had the first point in the first half, which, had the first 5 points in the first half, and trying to get the first point here in the second half.
And by the way, as I mentioned, 2 more games coming up featuring the Indy Red and the Indianapolis Alley Cats. There are members of the Indy Red team warming up right now, getting ready for their game coming up later today. So as soon as this one is over, so that's going to be very interesting. By the way, 3:30 start time for that. I just got a weather notification saying that rain is moving into Indiana, that it could affect the maybe other things going on in Indiana today, like the IndyCar Grand Prix. Let's hope it does not affect either of the 2 games coming up after this one. But Mother Nature's had a bit of a fickle week. she's given us nice weather for a few days, and then she's given us rain. So
well, there's what's known in weather. The weather circles as the Indiana factor, as in you almost have to look the next 3 days ahead and kind of average it out, and then that's maybe what you can expect. And of course, let me just stress that that was absolutely made up and in no way, shape, or form a real thing.
I was like, wait, what is this? But you know what? You told it in such a convincing way that I almost wondered if it was. I was like, what is he?
Yeah.
What is he talking about there? So Fisher's going with a bit of a vertical stack look. So this is probably something that they drew up out of the timeout. And looks like a pick was called immediately. And they're talking about it.
And then just sometimes certain paths that you take, if the defender isn't able to stay with the player, then that's when you'll see the pick called there.
Center Grove gets a knockdown, though, and there's the long throw, and it will land, giving it back to Fishers. So yet again, Center Grove's now, I think as we go on here, Alex, we're going to see a lot more of those deep throws. They got it. Center Grove's now seeing that time is running out. They've got to find a way to get that disc in for scores, and the quickest way to do it is to go deep. Well, they've missed more on those than they've hit them in this game. So.
I'd be interested. I think we got to be up, I think, of about 10 minutes or so on this 1 point here.
We've been sitting on this score since halftime, and there's the disc being dropped. Again, Fisher's defense, though, has been outstanding. And now Center Grove with it again. They just seem to backtrack a lot. Noah Wall has it. Looking at the Fisher's defense, which is bringing up multiple guys. Boy, he had it right near the boundary. That was Carter Franklin, who had it right near the sideline. Now here's Cameron Thatcher, looking like he was looking deep downfield, but Fisher's they've got a man covering everybody. But nice throw. That ends up in Novotny's hands. Now here's Franklin with it again. And the throw to the end zone not successful. So Fishers gets it back, up 7-2. It rolled all the way past the goalpost.
As you see, Fisher's not exactly in any rush
to
get the disc tapped in right away. But again, coming upwards, maybe we got to be certainly over 10 minutes again already on this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I think it was 5-0 Fishers. And then Center Grove scored one to make it 5-1. Then they basically rotated points to end the half to make it 7-2. But here in the second half, we have sat on this score the entire half to this point. And these players have been on the field the whole time. A nice interception there. That was Carter Franklin, who knocked it up out of the air and then came down with it. Now Cameron Thatcher has it for Center Grove.
Does not count as 2 blocks, by the way.
That's
just the one.
What do you make of schematically about, or I guess you could say from a coaching standpoint about the way Fishers has played their defense? Because I guess I've just seen more of a man-to-man, and they've gone with they've just stayed with his zone defense most of the time.
Well, again, you see Center Grove they have more throwers back, I think just because maybe of the conditions, and have not been able to get, as we said, the cutters, poppers, non-throwers, whatever you want to call it, to just get in the right position. And so it's just, I think, been something that you see sometimes the Center Grove throwers are just kind of standing around, immediately look upfield, nothing, and then just that process repeats, and again have not been able to really work it through that zone efficiently all day.
That was Carter Franklin who made that unreal save attempt there for Center Grove to keep it in. Isaac Mers has it for Fishers. Stall count running awfully high here, but he finally gets rid of it. Eric Hoy's got it. Hoy ends up finding Michael Brunt. Brunt running the stall count high and ends up throwing it away. Thought he might have had somebody in the end zone, but it was just a little too wide. So Center Grove gets it back, and again, their time is running out. There's 22 minutes left on the timer. How about that? Another great defensive play by Fishers. It was Eric Hoy again.
Yeah, he's been the downfield defender for them all day and has had, I want to say, 3 or 4 blocks on deep throws from Center Grove.
But Fishers ends up giving it right back, and as soon as they get it to about the 30-yard line on your screen there, Center Grove ends up calling a timeout. So there's the timeout situation, as you can tell. Center Grove has now 1 left, so does Fishers.
And we've had a couple timeouts called during this point, which again has taken probably another 2, 3, maybe even 4 minutes by the time everyone resets off the clock. So at this point, even though you're happy Center Grove is in a position to get a score here, by the time they do get this score, there will have been maybe 13, 14, 15 minutes off the clock in this 1 point alone, and there would be probably only about 20 minutes left in the game after they score.
What do you think Center Grove's going with here? What do you think they're talking about offensively? Because they obviously not only do they need scores, but they need quick scores.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I think they're certainly looking for just a one cut, throw it and score. Whether that's you'll see one of the other handlers near the disc maybe strike up the field towards the sideline a little bit from the middle of the field, or maybe you'll see someone in front of a stack cut away to the opposite side, maybe trying to use that open space, or maybe even just someone in an isolated area where they can go side to side and really all over the end zone to try to get open. But as you can see here now, Center Grove is, they're 10 yards out, and it looks like they're setting up in a vertical stack, so they have 5 cutters. Typically in something like this, you'll see the front of the stack actually be the first one to make a cut, and so try to get open and utilize maybe the opposite side of the field. But Fishers is positioning themselves well here.
And there is the flick to the end zone. It's incomplete. He tried to find Tommy Novotny, Novotny's made some big plays today for Center Grove, but just could not get that one. Now we're down to 20 minutes left on the clock, and Fisher's still ahead 7-2. You're watching on line here the Ultimate High School State Championship between Center Grove and Fishers on UniversePointProductions.com. I am John Herrick along with Alex Hutton. A big thank you to the Indiana Ultimate Foundation for helping us bring this broadcast to you today on what is the very first Ultimate Day in Indiana. I think they're trying to talk about where it went out of bounds, and once they now agree upon that.
Taking about another 20, 30 seconds off the clock.
Yes, that does do that. And that one is knocked down, turning it back over to Center Grove.
Fisher's a player there sort of helping out Center Grove with it not rolling farther away.
Noah Wall picked it up for Center Grove. And the wind is the wind was definitely more of a factor in the first half. It's died down a little bit, but still, and also a much chillier day than we're used to expecting here in May in Indiana.
Well, as you saw there for a moment, sort of an interesting defensive setup where Fishers had 3 defenders downfield in a zone, which that was maybe, again, more due to the Center Grove Trojans having more offensive players downfield to try to get a score quicker than they would like.
Noah Wall's been just kind of playing catch out there with Cameron Thatcher. Now Center Grove starts to advance it. Thatcher gets it up across to Franklin. They're 2 yards away, and they get it in. So a much-needed score there for Center Grove. Looked like that was Jesse Rumsey on the reception. That makes it 7-3. Let's take a look at it one more time here on replay. So, Rumsey with the score and Carter Franklin with the assist. So Rumsey has 2 of the goals and the 3 assists today for Center Grove. Mitchell Anderson, Carter Franklin, and Cameron Thatcher. Is there anything on, when you pull, let's say you're the team that's doing the pull, do you target a certain place on the field where you try to pull, or do you just kind of say, let's just throw it out there and wherever it lands, it lands? Yeah,
I think with with Fishers playing more of a zone today, I think you've seen maybe try to get a little more float on it so that their defense can hustle down and get in the proper position. Sometimes, again, you roll it out of bounds to try to maybe trap them on the sideline, but maybe that's more at the professional level since you see the double teams. But I think that a lot of times the goal is to just get it as far down the field as possible, and also maybe put some float on it to where your defense can hustle down, because if you throw it all the way down the field but you just zip it down there, the other team can catch it and get 2, 3, 4 throws off before you've even set your defense.
There's the pull from Center Grove's Cameron Thatcher. And now I wonder, I'm going to be kind of interested to see how Fishers approaches this possession here, Alex, because they know they've got time on their side. They're up 7-3. You definitely don't want to play, I guess the best way to say it, maybe not to lose.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. My father always taught me that it was just very annoying in sports when you saw teams not play to win, but play not to lose. Not to lose, as you said. Just one of those things. You see here, Fishers has been taking their time, on a lot of in a lot of instances. But of course,
right as we say that, they go for a deep pass.
Right, and then with Center Grove just not being able to execute, it's just. It's again, I don't think Fishers is intentionally trying to just run out the clock, but it does benefit you when Center Grove is making just as many mistakes as we saw on that long point there just previously as you are.
And also, if you're just joining us, we did have a Callahan earlier in this game, a very rare thing that happens in Ultimate. Doesn't happen all that often. And the disc there did land on the turf, so that will give it back to Fishers. And the throw to the end zone results in the score. And that just pads the lead for the Fishers Baja. They now lead 8-3. And the guy who caught it was Ryan Clace, the same man who caught the Callahan earlier in the game. And let's take a look at that on replay. You just see that really, and not an easy throw or catch. And a nice diving attempt there made by the defender, but just couldn't quite get over there in time. So now Fishers, it's really, we're getting close to seeing ultimate history here, Alex. This would be really something for this Fishers program if they could find a way to finish this out.
Yeah, one of the great things that we've seen here across the state of Indiana over the course of just, I want to say just even the last 3-4 years alone, is a team like Fishers, where they didn't have a team 5-6 years ago, I believe, and just one group of guys gets together, sees a team like Center Grove, and sees the sport growing at the college level, the professional level. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we like this sport. We've been playing pickup. We've been playing in leagues. Let's just get together, band together, and let's form a team at our school. And now, Fishers, a couple years later, they're in a state championship game and well on track to win their first ever state championship in Ultimate.
And it's also the very first Ultimate Day in Indiana. Also, what a great networking opportunity if you're a high school kid on one of these two teams and you want to end up. That assist, by the way, on that last score for Fishers was to Michael Brunt. And also, this would be a great time for you as a high school kid to maybe network with some of the Alley Cats players and coaches if you're one of the players in this game.
And that's one of the things that the Alley Cats and the Red do a great job of, is connecting with younger players, just making sure they get the development they need, continue to play at the college level, and just showcase their talents in the hopes of playing professionally. There's a lot of, everyone knows everybody in this community here in this area, and as you mentioned, again, a great opportunity to be able just to showcase your skills on a much bigger stage.
And we're taking down less than 13 minutes left here in this state finals, the state championship game for Ultimate, and right now Fishers with the upper hand, 8-3. Center Grove really on the brink of coming up short, and a lot of it's just been because of just simply the way Fishers has played, especially on defense, forcing a lot of turnovers, getting a lot of blocks,
I think
setting themselves up with great field position.
Yeah, I think that has been the key, has been just the zone from Fishers causing a lot of turnovers.
But Center Grove with a nice answer there, and that was, I believe, Carter Franklin who made that reception, and it was. So he gets the goal. He already has an assist. He already has an assist and a block there. So here is the throw, and again, very well done by him, and the assist goes to Cameron Thatcher, his second assist of this state championship game. So now we're under about 11:45 left. It is 8-4. Fishers has the lead again. You play to 13 or until the time runs out. So.
Yeah, what'll be interesting is, and it seems here with at the rate we're going, is that this game will end with what is known as hard cap, meaning just the time has run out, the game is over. What'll be interesting is, if the time runs out, Fishers is ahead, and the game is over, but yet at the same time not, because you got to finish the point, even though knowing that once we finish this point, the game is over. And that happens, quite a bit in Ultimate, and again, as we mentioned here now, just under 11 minutes. Fisher's up 8-3 here in this championship game. We'll see if, again, 8-4, sorry. Center Grove, they're going to have to make some plays and make them quick.
And there's the pull, and Fishers will take over. There's Hoy who picks it up. Eric Hoy going deep, and
just have not seen a lot of those working for either team today.
Yeah, they've boy, I mean, give them credit. They both have been gutsy and tried to go for the deep ones, but it just has not really worked out. But I mean, it's worked out a couple times, but more often than not, it's been. And again, I think the wind has something to do with that. I think the fact that you got more of a narrow field to work with, that sort of plays into it. Again, though, but how about what a heck of a job by Westfield High School and the facilities they have here in providing this great ultimate day in Indiana. Of course, just Grand Park right up the road, also a phenomenal venue for the for the Alley Cats and the Red. This is a
this area
time spot for ultimate.
Yeah,
really
this area is sort of almost establishing itself as a ultimate hotspot, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
With the Alley Cats playing here and now having the high school state championship game here, just kind of getting known for just certainly the nice facilities that are around here.
Well, the wind today, wow, nice layout, has been very cyclical. It's kind of that layout by Mitchell Anderson. The wind will pick up and then it dies down for a while, and now it's picked back up again. And Center Grove moving towards the wind here.
Well, that's why you talk about when you're a coach and you're a captain, stressing to all your players throwing different directions before the game. You don't just want to stand throwing in one direction the whole time back and forth. You want to throw side to side with the wind, against the wind, just because that way you're naturally ready to make all different types of throws in the game.
Eric Hoy had that last block for Fishers, but then Center Grove gets it right back. Cameron Thatcher has it. It's 8:35 left in this one. And I think there's a discussion about a call here. I think they're just trying to figure maybe the yard line out or what. Okay, whatever it is, again, no referees. All the players have to sort out any disagreements on their own. And whatever that one was about, they got it solved pretty quickly.
Yeah, Center Grove is just anytime there is something like that, they're going to be certainly trying to just say, okay, let's agree on this. Let's just send it back because we want to keep the game going.
We're less than 8 minutes away from seeing possible history made by the Fishers Baja, trying to become the first high school ultimate team other than Center Grove or Martinsville to win an ultimate championship, and they lead 8-4. They get another nice stop there.
And you see Fishers calling a timeout here. Very interesting here. Maybe a situation that just trying to work the clock. I don't know. Or you see there certainly also the players, they seem a little gassed.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of these points. I mean, we've only had a total about 3 scores, I think, here in this second half. So it's just there have been some long points. And it's starting to get a little tired, I think, out there.
And also, just to remind viewers at home, you might think, well, what do you mean running out the clock by calling a timeout? Well, in this sport, when you call a timeout now, when the clock is running, the clock still runs. It does not just stop whenever there's a timeout. So Center Grove has 1 timeout left. They might call it to talk strategy, but if they were to call a timeout now, that would actually be detrimental to them because time would run off the clock there. And the Columbia Revolution, the team that the Indianapolis Red will be playing against coming up at 3:30. That is the team that they will be playing, and I've only known the sport of ultimate now for a couple months, Alex, but from everything I've heard about the Columbia Revolution, they are about as good as it gets in women's ultimate. They are very, very tough.
If you want to see just some very exciting ultimate, please stick around for the broadcast later between the Columbia Revolution here and the Indy Red. This is going to be just an absolutely insane that game, and just knowing that, I mean, they traveled here to play this game is just. Again, we're talking about history, a lot of history, which could just, again, begin here with Fishers winning their first state championship and just the first ever Ultimate Day in Indiana. It's just, again, I talk a lot about the sport and just, how the growth of the sport we've seen. It gets me excited just knowing that just to be even a small part of something like this and just getting to witness this is incredible.
All right, so Fisher's timeout is over. Andrew Sin has it. Goes for the deep pass, and it was almost held on to, but not quite. So Center Grove, again, has 5 minutes to work with here, down by 4. And as you can tell, they were moving it quickly back to the line, knowing how important time is now. And again, if you're Fishers, you stick with that zone defense. It resulted in a Callahan earlier, and it's just been incredibly effective all day. I don't think they're going to break out of it now.
And you see there's not much, there's really no Center Grove offensive player other than just the quick reset there that's trying to work the middle of the field in that instance, which then you just chuck it downfield and Fishers gets it back. And we've mentioned it several times, just the inability to work through that zone I think has been perhaps the deciding factor here today.
Well, and that was Eric Hoy, and I have Eric Hoy for 5 blocks now. I mean, it feels like every time they've tried to go deep or Center Grove's tried to go down the field, he's been the one intercepting everything or knocking it down. So
and that position typically is called the monster in the zone, as in you're the guy who's back, you're trying to protect all those deep shots, and he has certainly been that today. He has been a monster on the field for them.
Yeah, especially in a game like this where defense has been so important. And Center Grove getting another score there, though. Nice play. Stepping in was Tommy Novotny for his second goal. I believe that was Cameron Thatcher on the assist. So that makes it was Cameron Thatcher. There's the replay, and a nice job by Novotny. Again, with it being a shorter field for high school, you don't have as much room to work with, so staying in bounds is a little more difficult. But it's now 8-5. Fishers' lead is 3, but we're down to about 3 minutes left. So Center Grove is going to have to make up a lot of ground and do it quickly. Otherwise, Fishers will be the first team in Indiana to win an Ultimate Championship that's not Center Grove or Martinsville.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be having a discussion right now. I would just
be moving. Yeah,
I would be all right. Points over. Hold hand up. Try to get the next point going.
And again, now we're under 3 minutes to go. Well, I think Fishers is, their coaching staff is the one now who's kind of stalling it a little bit. They're the ones trying to use as much. Is there any limit on how long the coaches can talk here? I've kind of seen it vary. So that's just kind of
the USA rules dictate. There really is. It's just I think in my years playing it, I don't know if I've ever seen someone say, hey, this is taking too long or something.
Right.
It's just, or at least try to make a call. And it goes back to, again, spirit of the game a lot of times. Right. It's let's not stand here for 5 minutes trying to wait for the game to end. And, I don't think there's anything necessarily egregious, but you can certainly see there's kind of this, you've seen some Fishers players looking up at the clock, just kind of wondering how much time is left. And it certainly seems like it's going to come down to, with just 2 minutes left here now, that this game will end with Fishers being the champions.
There's been one of the guys who's been one of the big players for Fishers today, Ryan Clace, catching the Callahan. 3 scores. Nice knockdown there by Noah Wall. Now Center Grove's got to hurry. They've got 1:35 left, but they turn it back over.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like very well that this could end up being the last point, which I mean, perhaps you hate to see the game end that way, and I think really you do, but Fishers is just they've been the better team today, and made more plays and just done the things necessary to win. And with 1 minute 10 seconds here left in the game, it seems as though this could end up being either the last point or the next to last point.
Place the handler here. Gets it back to Hoy. Less than a minute to play. Running the stall count a little bit. Hoy to the end zone, and it is caught by, I believe, that is Andrew Sin. Yes, it is. And that is probably going to be the icing on the cake for the Fishers Baja. That makes it 9-5. First goal of the day for Sin. He also has had 2 assists and 1 block. And here's the replay. Just what a throw there by Hoy.
I think Eric Hoy, he's got to be your player of the game today. Really has made a lot of plays for Fishers. I think what's going to happen here, we got 20 seconds left as the clock is winding down. By rule, we have to play this last point. Since what is called hard cap is going off here in 10 seconds, Fishers is going to be your champions. They have won this game, but we are going to play one more point. By rule, this point should be played. It is 9-5. Fishers has officially won, and they are your state champions. But I think by rule we are playing one final point here. Because
the score happened while the clock was still going. So
it prevents a situation where what happens is in this instance, let's say it was a 9-8 game.
Right. Yes.
What would happen is if Fisher scored, they would win. If Center Grove scored, we would play sudden death, or what's known as universe point in ultimate. Mm-hmm. And so since we're in this kind of awkward situation here where the game is decided, we know who has won, we have to play one last point just to, again, make it official.
I was going to say, I would say legitimately finish it out, because you do want to.
Yes.
You do want to make sure, since that score was made while the time. I think that's a good rule. So.
Well, and again, it goes back to situations like that where maybe someone is trying to, work the clock a little bit if it is a close game. That way
they can't just sit on it and run the clock out.
Exactly. And so anything in a situation where this point would not result in a tie game would mean that Fishers is the winner. And, of course, in this instance, with Fishers being up 4, Fishers is the state champion this year.
Well, and again, if you're a Center Grove senior, this will be your last point. But really cool moment there for these kids. And like you said, Alex, records are meant to be broken. 8 straight ultimate championships for Center Grove, and that streak comes to an end today. As nice layout there as it's hauled in by Cameron Thatcher, and then he lofts it to the end zone and got it to Cameron Felger. So Thatcher with the assist and Felger with that last point, but that will not be enough. Center Grove finishes the game with a score, but is the Fishers Baja making history today at Westfield, winning their first ever state championship and snapping a streak of 8 straight championships for Center Grove. The Fishers Baja, your ultimate high school state champions here in Westfield. What a great day, Alex. History. Well, this is the first of 3 games here on the first ever ultimate day in Indiana, and what a way to start it off.
Credit goes out to Fishers for creating a program, maintaining that program, and getting themselves to this point. Center Grove has been just the pinnacle of ultimate at the high school level in Indiana for several years, as we talked about, winning 8 straight championships. And quite frankly, who knows if a program like Fishers even exists if Center Grove doesn't set the stage for the high school level, having competed in national tournaments. I think Fishers even themselves competed in that same national invite tournament last season. And just to get to see teams like this where you see the sport being grown at the high school level, hats goes off to both of these teams, both of these coaches, all of these players. I mean, this is just an incredible thing to watch. And again, just to see Fishers be able to claim the throne, so to speak, to win their first championship, to me, my first thought just goes to the importance of this game and just how big a day like today can be for this sport. And, we talked about the history being made already here with Fishers, the history of this day, the history of the Alley Cats and the Indianapolis Red being formed and the Premier Ultimate League. It's just the amazing things to watch, and just the sport that who knows if we're going to be 10 years from now, what we're going to be talking about with the growth of this sport. So just, again, hats off to both teams, but just certainly happy for a program like Fishers.
Well, we will take one break, and when we come back, we'll give you the final stats and final thoughts on this one before we get ready for the next game featuring the Indianapolis Red. Fishers 9, Center Grove 6. Back in a moment on UniversePointProductions.com.
4 acres of indoor space, Incrediplex is Indianapolis' destination spot for sports, entertainment, and events. Whether it is a day of fun with the kids in the arcade, getting a workout in the fitness center, or getting competitive on our basketball courts, Incrediplex is the place to be. Go online to Incrediplex.com today to start planning your visit.
All right, back for the final time for this one. Fishers and Center Grove just finishing up their spirit circle right there, just capping off an excellent display of sportsmanship that you always see in the sport of ultimate. But Fishers comes in and wins their first ever state championship for ultimate, snapping a streak of 8 in a row by the Center Grove Trojans here on game number 1 of the very first ultimate day in Indiana. And what a great display, Alex. Especially, as Fishers set the tone with their defense early on. They jumped out to a 5-0 lead, and really that just put Center Grove behind the 8 ball, and they fought back, but it was just too much Fishers in the end.
Yeah, just the length of the points certainly just ran out the clock on this game, and Fishers just making the defensive plays to put them in a position to score quickly on the offensive end, and just a great game to watch. Certainly history being made, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. I mean, these will certainly be programs that are continuing it back at it, and I'd be interested to see just the fuel to the fire that this sets for a team like Fishers. Do you see maybe some more athletes kind of catch on to this ultimate thing now that Fishers has won that state championship? Yep. It'll be interesting to see if they pull some new players in and make it back here next year.
I'd say our player of the game was Eric Hoy. He didn't score at all, but he did have 5 blocks. He did have 2 assists. Guys who did score for Fishers: Gavin Henderson, Jacob Beaver, along with Michael Brunt. 3 goals by Ryan Clace, including one of which was a Callahan, Andrew Sin, and Isaac Mers. And I would say, even though Eric Hoy is our player of the game, I think the play of the game was the Callahan here. And let's take a look at that. As you can see, Ryan Clace just coming on, taking advantage of a disc that got thrown. The wind definitely played a role in that. As you can see now, Fishers enjoying the state championship trophy that they just got handed there. And so Fishers pulls off the win over Center Grove 9-6 in the very first game of the day for Ultimate Day in Indiana. For my partner, Alex Hutton, our broadcast engineer and producer, Heath Shanahan, and all the great folks at Universe Point Productions, thank you so much for watching the high school Ultimate State Championship game from Westfield High School on UniversePointProductions.com.